Spoiler alert, this video might contain some spoilers to Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. If you guys are unfamiliar with those, it's basically Boruto's dad, or it's pretty much known as the prequel to Boruto, believe it or not. But with that being said, I'm just here to warn you before you actually watch this video. If you guys haven't seen those series, then you might not want to watch this video. But with that being said, let's get on with the video. Welcome back everyone. It's been a while since I last made a video, but I had a lot of things going on and I also had a few things planned as well for this channel. Believe it or not, I'm actually starting a new series for this particular channel and it's literally in the titles. It's called In Defense Of, where I essentially just defend some particular anime or anime characters that are condemned in the whole anime community, and yeah, it's just going to be really fun to actually go over that and try to play the devil's advocate. However, as for today's video, you guys already know by the title, we're going to be talking about Boruto. Let's face it, Naruto was the top show during its runtime. It was regarded as one of the big three shonen anime / manga. Even after its conclusion, people continue to talk about it even as of now, as I am with this video right now as well. So it comes to no surprise that when Boruto was announced, fans of the shows had very high expectations. And so we got a new generation of ninjas, one without, or rather decreased conflict. If anything, most of the conflict is really insignificant and can be dealt with even without ninjas, which I should mention are going to be very expensive to hire. I think the idea behind Naruto itself as a series was so that Kishimoto could bring a spotlight to ninjas, as it is heavily embedded into Japanese history. Ninjas would naturally be prevalent during times of major conflict, when many assassinations would take place. But then of course, we get characters like Hashirama and Madara, who despite being a show about ninjas, are able to produce these kaiju-sized humanoids that can change the geography with a single physical attack. And remember everyone, Naruto is a show about ninjas. Now comes the main question of today. Why does everyone hate Boruto so much? I mean, this is not a minor opinion, as even Rant Cafe, particularly Nuxtaku, openly condemns Boruto as its own singular tier in the tier list discussions that they have. By the way, big fan of you guys, bring me on sometime. Now back to topic. Boruto begins with the face-off between a much older Boruto about to square off against a villain only known by the name of Kawaki. Boruto supposedly has special eyes known as the Jogan, and we see that clearly Naruto and Sasuke are not present to stop Kawaki. Sets up a pretty good premise, doesn't it? If anything, this is kind of similar to the first episode of Shippuden, where they actually start off later on in the story, and after our first arc or so, it then actually goes on to that particular point in time, where they give us a teaser at the very first episode. A bit of dialogue and we cut to the past, which is where the full story begins. To avoid as many spoilers, if anyone actually cares, Boruto is set in a time of peace, where ninjas are no longer needed to resolve conflicts, as very few conflicts arise. The ones that do are minor petty crimes. It makes you wonder what kind of story arc can unfold. I gotta admit that some of them are really far-fetched and stretched out. I'll get to the point. The arcs do not compare to that of those from Naruto. They are not as memorable and they lack any distinguishing use of ninjutsu that surpasses Naruto. On top of that, the characters that represent the new generation do not yield the greatest of followers either. Not many of the viewers are actually fans of Boruto himself. I mean, it is very far-fetched to actually hate Boruto just because he doesn't respect his dad. Look, no kid really respects their parents. Keep in mind that Boruto is born and raised in a generation of peace. The new generation simply doesn't need to grow up in a faster rate. It's rare to think that major deaths would occur to trigger off their own growth, or whether any of them have to constantly be on the run from a group of S-class ninjas, where outsiders would perceive their plans to be world domination. But is it ultimately uncalled for? Well, here comes the defense. Boruto is set in a time of peace. No major conflicts occur, no wars, no traumatic events. So how do you expect the new generation to acknowledge the accomplishments of their parents? They can't, because they couldn't possibly know. It makes sense why Naruto would respect his parents after finding out who they actually were, of course, because they grew up in similar eras. Boruto's era is a completely new era. The Fourth Great Ninja War was pretty much the equivalent to World War II in our world. It was essentially a war that would end all wars. Well, for the time being. And it's not like you guys can complain anymore because Boruto now does actually acknowledge his father's commitment to the village. We even get to see their father-son bond grow. As much as you might hate to admit this, Boruto is actually more relatable than Naruto. I'm sure all of you guys watching this video didn't grow up during war-torn periods. We're considered the worst generation throughout human history. Funny, right? Boruto's generation is also condemned in the same manner by us. So let's forget about all this, oh, Boruto's generation is just spoiled, because we're no different. But wait, there's actually more. Everyone also hates how despite Naruto and Sasuke being godlike figures at the end of Naruto Shippuden, they are now significantly weaker. Well, significant might be a bit of a stretch here, but they are weaker than what we expect. My only response to that is, yeah, well, no shit. This is an era of peace. After the war, Naruto's generation and above never had to fight many major conflicts anymore. There was a huge decline in S-class missions, and it was no surprise. Without these S-class missions to hone their skills, it's not even a surprise that they would be weaker than what we would expect. Practice makes perfect. Well, there's no such thing as perfection, but you get where I'm coming from. With the lack of difficulty in missions, you can't really stay strong for long. You're gonna decrease in your own power levels. Don't get me wrong, Naruto's generation are still really big beasts, but don't expect them to be strong during a time of peace. Accept reality. It's painful, but just accept pain. The last defense I actually have here is Boruto isn't even being written by Kishimoto. This story was originally conceived by Kishimoto himself, and the fact that Boruto, despite being a sequel to Naruto, it's not a series that's actually been overrun by Kishimoto. So because of that, how can you actually expect the story to be as good as it once was? Because this was simply not even the creator's work. However, it is been announced that Kishimoto will now be overseeing the writing and the drafts starting from chapter 53. If you haven't heard of this news by now, you're basically living under a rock. This is big news. Boruto will now actually really get better. The only thing that comes down to it is whether or not we're willing to actually give it a chance and watch the rest of Boruto. Now, at this point in time, I think I got into about 130 episodes of Boruto before I actually stopped watching, so anything after that I still need to catch up on. But it didn't mean that I didn't like Boruto. I actually did enjoy it, which is probably one of the reasons why I'm even defending it right now. However, I think we're done for now. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a like and share this video. Also, subscribe for more content like this. I was actually thinking about turning this into a whole series, so definitely let me know. Leave some actual suggestions as well for what you guys actually want to see. But till the next video, hope you guys have a great day. This is Enigma, signing out.